So I was going through Steam and I happened to come across an old game called Armed and Dangerous, an Xbox exclusive game created by Planet Moon Studios and published by LucasArts and released in 2003, and I see that it has very positive reviews. Not many, but it has good reviews. Now, the games of the early 2000s had a unique style to them at the time. As games would continue to try to push the realism bar higher and higher and try to reach that bar, not all the games were able to reach that. And this would be due to the limitations in the hardware that they were using at the time to make games, the software they were using, and just the budgets that they were given at the time. But this limitation did come with its benefits though, because due to the low poly count, some games would actually be able to create their own unique style or go with a cartoony look that would help them out. This would actually help some games stand out based on what style of game they were going for. Cartoonish games, RPG games, and games that were lighthearted in their story benefited from this. Some of those games include Katamari, Crazy Taxi, and The Sims. And Armed and Dangerous is one of those games that benefited from this in my opinion. It's cartoonish, it's funny, and it doesn't take itself seriously, and that's the charm that I've wound up falling in love with. So the game starts off with the cutscene showing 3 characters treading through the snow. One of these characters is Roman, and that is who you're going to be playing as throughout the game. He is the leader of the group is known as the Lionhearts. Q is the giant tea-making combat robot, and Jonesy is the mole who dual wields revolvers. You see these characters and you are immediately able to remember who these characters are, based on their design alone. You may not know their names, but you can easily spot them out amongst a crowd. Then you get into an igloo, and this is where the game shows you its main drawing point, the humor. I was chuckling throughout this cutscene, and I had a feeling I was in for a good time.
Oh, come on, Rexy. It'll be fun.
No way. Absolutely no way. Besides, I have my dogs to look after.
Look, Rexus.
Here you go, fellas. Come and get it. Best guide dogs I ever owned.
The cutscene ends and you are introduced to the first level. Do horror movies still use this line in their trailers? I remember seeing this on every horror movie trailer, and I felt like the only people who were foolish enough to believe that were the people who spend ridiculously high prices on rocks because they believe they have magical powers. You know the ones I'm talking about. Or maybe you don't, I don't know what all you know. And I started to play the game and bloody hell, this mouse sensitivity is ridiculous. Let me just adjust sensitivity real quick and okay. Yeah, the mouse sensitivity is really jank on the PC. I'm pretty sure whenever this game came out and it was released on the Xbox, this level of sensitivity was not there. I am just barely moving my mouse and my screen just goes flying. Also, if you decide to play this game, adjust the brightness because everything is going to be looking hazy if you don't. You come across some enemies and the button placement is what threw me off. Because to zoom, you have to press E, not right-click the zoom like most games. So you right-click, and you find out that's mapped to your explosives. And to switch through your main weapons, you have to press Q. You can change this in the settings, but I didn't bother. I wanted to see what this ride was going to be like. Now, most early third-person shooter games will give you weapons that had a high rate of fire and had splash damage to help keep up with the fast-paced action that was going on. So zooming in wasn't a main concern of mine, so I didn't worry about zooming. Unless, of course, I had the sniper rifle. You start taking out the enemies and you notice that Q and Jonesy are shooting at the things that you shoot at, even if it's not alive. They can follow the 2 commands that you can give them, go to point, or defend you. They really aren't that great, and I will explain why later on in this video. Then you shoot some barrels and oh, this level has destructible environments. And this is something I enjoy so long as it's not overdone, because this adds more to the atmosphere and can be some good eye candy in high action situations. If you see a building, pipes, or even a tree, it is most likely destructible. And yes, you can even shoot the local deformed wildlife. You come across your first pub and you can see the inventory of weapons. Well, kinda. You see each level has a spot like this. It is a save point, a healing point, and a restocking point. You can switch out weapons, but only to what is provided to you at the time. This game doesn't have many weapons, so the limitation wasn't much of an issue. But though limited, you have some creative weapons, and this is the first one you will get, and let me show you what it does.
Proper havoc, didn't we?
At that moment, I knew I wanted to continue playing this game. Exactly how many games allow you to flip the level completely upside down for a moment and then let gravity finish off your enemies for you? Type your answers down in the comments below and I will ignore your answers. Now this game takes realism and throws it right out the door. Yes, you do have an SMG, a rifle, and a sniper rifle that look pretty real and serious enough, but then you are given things that would not be practical and would not exist in the real world. You have black hole grenades that will suck up your enemies but will also mess with your aiming as well. You have grenades that are like frisbees and also stick to the target that you hit, and bloody hell, Roman has one hell of an arm on him. A boxing glove, which I didn't properly use at all during the playthrough, but I think what it does is that it pulls its enemy closer to you so you can give them a knockout punch. You have a trumpet RPG, yes, that's right, a trumpet RPG, and finally what I have considered to be the best weapon in the game and the best weapon of any game in my personal opinion, the shark gun. Yes, you heard me right. This is a gun that launches sharks into the ground and will act like a homing missile to anyone that is touching the ground. And after eating someone, it continues to swim around until it finds its next target. This gave me flashbacks to a show called Street Sharks, which was a show that tried to imitate the TMNT craze at the time. Because just like the characters in the show, the sharks will swim through the ground. Then you have the characters who range from weird and wacky to even more weird and wacky. Let me just show you some of the clips.
This is a war we're going to win! Death to the Saladators! Ha-ha! Death to the Saladators! Demon, out! You sailed the soothsayer!
Quick, Grandfather, come outside!
What? Who are you?
Grandfather, we need your help!
You are not my grandfather!
See what I mean? These characters really help keep the game interesting, and I was always curious about what the next level was going to bring, and curious about who I was going to meet next, and what level of craziness they were going to have. Now, the gameplay is pretty simple and also a little janky, but it doesn't ruin it in the slightest. The worst I've seen is characters stacking on top of each other, which reminded me of those funny videos of Counter-Strike players stacking on top of each other to take out someone as they come by a door. Well, how simple is the gameplay, you ask? Well, you run and gun, which is changed up with a jetpack later on, so you will be running, gunning, and jetting from point to point. You have turret sections as well, and that's it. When traveling on foot, you will run through the levels where the enemies will try to stop you. The AI is very simple and very stupid at times. Sometimes they'll just run right past you before they make it to a point and then immediately turn around and start shooting at you. Though I wasn't expecting something too advanced with this game in the first place. But what the enemies lack in intelligence, they try to make up for with numbers. So think of it like battling the orcs from Warhammer 40k. They're stupid, but the sheer amount of them is just overwhelming. They have spawning points that you have to take out in order to keep them from respawning in some areas. So do that ASAP because you will be overwhelmed real quick. You can run past them to make it to the end of the map, but they will not stop following you, and the moment you stop, you will have a horde behind you. And I'm really glad they had this feature where it doesn't matter how far ahead you are, they will not stop following you. Kept the game from being a simple run to point A, point B as fast as possible kind of game. The jetpack does what a jetpack does and helps you get up to higher places and further distances. And this allowed the developers to change up the designs of the levels instead of having to leave areas completely flat. The turret sections are the simplest part of the game. Sit in one spot and shoot. There's two ways you can lose this. Either a certain amount makes it over the wall or they shoot you down. Which I didn't have a problem with this until the last turret section because you get overwhelmed pretty quick if you're not managing your shots correctly. You operate a machine gun and you operate explosives. You do get help from a plane that drops explosives, health packs, and even explosive upgrades. You even get help from these robots that have a thing for flowers after Ruckus,
Can you do anything with them?
I'll try. I can't promise anything.
Sorry, we're not programmed for that kind of...
Okay, soldiers, let's move out!
Good.
Well, we'll say he gave him an upgrade. The missions are really simple. Get from point A to point B, blow this thing up, blow up that thing, protect this person, but my personal favorite has to be the rescue missions. Mostly for this part right here. They knew this kind of jank was funny and left it in the game on purpose. I am so happy for it. And they don't tank damage either, so that's a bonus over every escort mission in games that came after this game. I'm serious, Resident Evil 4 would have been the gold standard of gaming if Ashley followed you around like this. this? Well, as much as I like this game, it does have its flaws and they are very noticeable. I would talk about the graphics, but it's an early 2000s game that didn't take itself seriously, so I'm pretty sure that it's what they were going for at the time, since it does help add to the humor. Now, if you decide to pick this up, mouse sensitivity is a thing to be concerned about, cause I could just barely move my mouse and I'm spinning like a tire on a race car, but I think that's just because I'm playing a PC version of the game. But even on the lowest setting, this is very annoying at times, especially when you need to be quick on your turns. The AI of your teammates is very lackluster. They will not pick up health packs on their own even if they're about to die. You have to lure them into it. Jonesy's, you're a doorknob. They really don't shoot the enemies like they should, which is annoying, but at least they make good bullet shields. I mainly just used them to distract enemies so I could get better shots. Oh yeah, Q has the ability to heal you by throwing out T, but during my playthrough, he really would just throw it out at the worst times or just wouldn't throw it out when I desperately needed it. Yeah, have fun listening to this. Yeah, I had to listen to that and scurry through the map for health just so I can stop hearing this sound. I'm gonna melt you down and turn you into a doorknob, Q. Save points are another issue, but that comes down to how good you are at the game. Because some save points are at the middle of the level and you have to go through an entire swarm of enemies that also respawn, mind you. So getting to them can be a bit of a challenge, especially once the enemies start using more explosives. Then you cannot choose the weapons you want to carry with you at the beginning of the level. The game starts you off with a set of weapons and then you have to make it to the save point and then select from the small amount that they have. Which in all honesty, they had pretty good choices, so I wouldn't really complain about that too much. Is this game worth it? It's a 6 to 8 hour game, which is good if you just want to let your mind melt to mush and have fun with very simple gameplay. But the comedy is the main reason I say you should play this game. It doesn't take itself seriously and it has fun with it, and so did I. I won't play this game much more after this, but I am glad I did play it. But the gameplay does get very repetitive because it's pretty much the same thing over and over again. But if you're looking for a good laugh, I recommend it. Give this early 2000 game a boot up and have some laughs. Well, that's going to be it for this video. But before I go, I just want to say thank you to all those who watched the Doom video and let me know in the comments that I didn't properly play the game close to the original like I was supposed to. So for the next video, I am going to be doing Doom 2 and I'm going to play it properly this time. Y'all have a good day.